Let's talk a little golf, a little PGA. He's with us now. Brandel Chamblee, Golf Channel, will surround the 103rd PGA Championship with more than 30 hours of live studio coverage this week. Brandel, former golfer, tremendous analyst on the Golf Channel now, joins us now. Hey, Brandel, Mark Malusis and Maggie Gray, thanks for a couple minutes this afternoon.
Yeah, nice to join you, Mark. Nice to join you, Maggie. Look forward to a great week.
Brandel, we can watch you on Twitch. Are you in some kind of soundproof booth or something?
I am. I'm in our sound booth. There's no place you can go on this compound without having a mask on. So, everybody in here has obviously been COVID tested, but still you can't walk around without a mask. So I had to go into the sound booth. Not the best backdrop in the world to find some place where I wouldn't get reprimanded.
Yeah, I thought when you were walking around setting up the shop, I thought you were in a closet, Brandel, when you were doing that.
Well,
I was like, where is?
Look, in COVID, we all relax our standards of production. I'm taking it to a new level here, fellas, and Maggie.
Fair.
Brandel, tell us a little bit about the course for those that are unfamiliar with what this course and the challenges that this course is going to present the world's best golfers. What do you expect in the PGA?
Well, it's the hardest course in the world, and that's not opinion. I mean, you can find that based in the slope and the scoring average, course rating, and so forth. And then the golf course is mercurial. I would say there's no prevailing wind here, which is bizarre. Every golf course seems to have a prevailing wind, but the wind comes from all points on the compass. And so the designer designed really two courses in one for easterly winds, one for westerly winds. First 3 days we're going to have easterly winds, which means the opening holes and the closing holes are going to be dead into some pretty strong winds. It's going to be really longest course in major championship history. So there's no place in the world where distance doesn't help, but it certainly makes sense that it would help more on the longest course in the world.
Brandel Chamblee is our guest. So Rory McIlroy has won on this course before, but it was a while ago. It was 2012. Do you think that gives him any tangible advantage already having success on what is, as you said, the most difficult golf course in the world?
I think so, a little bit, for sure. You have good memories. You step on a hole and you're like, oh, I hit this shot there. It certainly beats having gremlins, for sure. And the fact that he won his last event coming in here, I would guess would give him a great shot of confidence. He didn't drive it particularly well at his last outing. Matter of fact, only one person in the entire field was more inaccurate than Rory. Only a couple were more inaccurate by a wider margin than Rory. So I'm curious to see if he's shored that up a little bit. Rory has assembled around him the best team, I would argue, maybe in the history of golf. He has a teacher by the name of Pete Cowan, who is widely regarded as a mysterious man, doesn't really talk so much about what he teaches, but his players do one thing. They win. They win a lot. Bob Rotella, the preeminent sports psychologist, is now in Rory's corner, and a fellow by the name of Brad Faxon, who's notorious as one of the best putters ever, and an extraordinary putting coach is in his corner. Rory, I've never seen his stroke look better than it did his last outing at Wells Fargo. And if he's not missing the fairways by a wide margin, just a narrow margin will be fine. He'll be hard to beat.
All right, who else do you think, Brandel, will be hard to beat? Who do you think their game, DeChambeau, length of the course, what are the other, upper echelon golfers that you think this course they could be able to take advantage of?
On paper, it's not a fair fight. It's really not. There's Bryson DeChambeau and everybody else. You start to look at, we have obviously new metrics in this game that comprise everything. And there's one of them, strokes gained tee to green, which encompasses how well you drive it, length and accuracy, approach shots, and what you do around the green. Bryson DeChambeau leads that. But if you go all the way down and you start to look, you can go down a long, long way. And you think, what are the parameters of this golf course? Well, it's really, really long. Well, who's the longest hitter in the game? Bryson DeChambeau. He's first. Okay, who's the best putter of those who lead strokes gained tee to green? There's only one of them in the top 15 that is in the top 50 in strokes gained putting. That's Bryson DeChambeau, who's 38. Colin Morikawa is up there, but he's 184th in strokes gained putting. So on paper, again, it's not a fair fight. I've leaned towards Bryson DeChambeau, but something tells me it's Jon Rahm's week. He almost never plays poorly. His last six majors, his worst finish is 24th. He's always up there. He's an extraordinary ball striker, straighter off of the tee than Bryson DeChambeau. And you just say that, well, he's due.
We're talking about Brandel Chamblee. Can we go to some fan favorites? And when I look at fan favorites, a couple guys really stick out to me. One, Colin Morikawa. People love his sort of aw shucksness of it, right? Tony Finau, people love him. And then my personal favorite, Will Zalatoris, because Will Zalatoris sounds like the kid in high school who threw a party when his parents were away and someone drove a car into the pool. He became this sort of fan favorite around Augusta. Like, of those three fan favorites, Brandel, like, for me personally, who should I be throwing my weight behind?
Will Zalatoris would be tough to overlook. It's not often that you make guesses on the eve of championships and you look prescient. I mean, the hardest sport to predict in all the sports is golf, because it's the narrowest margin between the best, the middle, and last. It's only 7% from the very best to the worst, 3% from the very best to the average. So it's a fine line, but Will Zalatoris does it all and is not shrunk by the moment. Pressure doesn't seem to get to him. I loved Will Zalatoris at the Masters. He almost made me look like I know what I'm doing. Almost. Almost. It's a huge effort. It's a collaborative effort to do that. But I'm supposed to predict tonight. And, I have a feeling at some point I will be talking about Will Zalatoris tonight. So I like where your head's at, Maggie.
All right, Brandel, give us a couple, because everyone loves like somebody that comes out of nowhere, right? You know the tour better than anybody. Give us a golfer or two that are of the long shot variety that you think could be in place Sunday in the final round of the PGA.
Well, it depends on what you mean by long shot. We debate that quite often. There is a player who recently has come into some I'd say pretty good form, which I think is giving those whose job it is to make the odds and take in bets, probably giving them a fair bit of angst. Sam Burns, a month or so ago, would have probably been 100 and something to 1 to win the PGA Championship, and he's finished fourth, first, and second in his last 3 events out on the PGA Tour. He's pretty much got every skill. Not a great scrambler, so that's why I don't particularly like him. But if he hits the ball the way he has been the last couple of weeks, he won't have to scramble that much. Sam Burns certainly comes to mind. Tyrrell Hatton is relatively unknown, but he's a preeminent ball striker. And then there's another fellow from Scotland who's yet to make his mark over here, but he's in the top 50 in the world. And the last time somebody outside the top 50 in the world won a PGA, won a major championship was his 2011 PGA Championship, Keegan Bradley. That's a decade of players winning inside the top 50. Robert McIntyre from Scotland is really long and really talented, and amongst his peers, known as a player that is sort of can't miss. So those are a couple. I mean, I could go on, but there's Cameron Tregale is 8th in scoring average, comes in here with a hot hand. Nobody's talking about him. He's never won on the PGA Tour. So if we're really going down the list and talking about long shots, you could do worse than looking for him for a real long shot.
Brandon, just moving away from the PGA for a moment, do you have any kind of update on Tiger Woods? He had been tweeting a little bit. I kind of expect he'll start tweeting a little bit more during the tournament if he's going to be watching it, sending best luck and wishes and things like that to the fellow golfers. But when's the last you heard from him?
Well, I've probably heard exactly what you've heard. The whole world watches everything he does on social media. I have, because I had my own orthopedic issues, went in and talked to some very knowledgeable doctors. And of course, Tiger's likely injuries, because we don't know the full extent of his injuries, came up. And one of the doctors I was talking to is an expert, obviously, in these types of traumatic injuries that Tiger might have sustained. He broke the talus bone in his foot. And the doctor said to me, look, if it was a clean break, the talus bone's bottom of your foot, it's often something that gets injured in high impact collisions when you're driving. If it's a clean break, they can, put a screw in it. It'll heal nicely. He'll be back to playing golf. He said if it wasn't a clean break and it broke in numerous pieces, there's just no way they can clean that up, and it's going to swell up and be arthritic for the rest of his life, and his career's over. So, we've heard none of that from Tiger Woods, but I left there and I thought, well, it's one of two things. Either that bone heals up fine and he's on his way, which means, the recovery healing process everybody has said is about a year. And then how much longer does it take for him to have any semblance of a golf game? Likely another year. By that time, he's going to be in his late 40s. He's already given us, well, you can count, but he's already given us the comeback in 2008, comeback in 2013, an unbelievable, unlikely comeback in 2019. That's 3 already epic comebacks. I mean, I don't know how many movies they could make about this guy and how many comebacks he could give us. But this one, it's like each one gets more and more epic. And if he comes back from this one, which would be, I think, just the right sort of thing historically for him to get one more win. He's tied with Sam Snead at 82. Wouldn't it be cool if Tiger Woods was outright the winningest player in PGA championship history, PGA Tour history?
It would be amazing. It really would, and add another level of the comeback story. A comeback story once again. Brandel, back to this course here. I have one more on the course, one more on a golfer in particular. One on the course. Is there a stretch? Is there a hole? Is there a kind of you mentioned the most difficult course in the world and the longest? Is there a stretch of holes here you think that the golf fans should pay attention to, that you think could be pivotal in determining who wins this PGA and who doesn't?
Yes, I mean, there's going to be an easterly wind the first 3 days. The golf course takes off heading east. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to be, and typically, if the wind's not blowing in that direction, those are scoreable holes. But those are going to be pretty difficult holes to start on. And then 16, 17, and 18, 15, 16, 17, and 18, 14 through 18 are all going to be into the wind. They're all going to be into the wind. And they're all really long. Yesterday, Tony Finau, who's one of the longest hitters out here, was giving us his clubs, and it was 3 irons and 3 woods and 4 irons. And it was long irons, which, long irons, except for par 5s, are never really tested on the PGA Tour. So the closing holes are fraught with danger. They're very long, and they're very difficult. The wind will flip around on Sunday, and it'll be downwind. 16 is a par 5. What will bring into the mix eagle opportunities, scoring opportunities, and then the water is everywhere on every single hole. So the closing finish, Pete Dye did a great job of giving opportunities for risk and reward and for excitement from a fan perspective.
And then the final player would be Dustin Johnson, because how do you not talk about a major without talking about Dustin Johnson? He's going to tee off tomorrow afternoon, I think 2:09. What about, you think about long hitters? I know he's not Bryson DeChambeau, who blows everybody away, but Dustin Johnson was the guy for 5-6 years there. What about DJ this weekend?
Well, I mean, you can't overlook him, but it's Monday, Tuesday, right? The last couple of days, and we haven't talked about him on Golf Central. We'll talk about him tonight, no doubt, but we haven't talked about him because he comes in here sort of off form. And a matter of fact, from pretty much every statistical metric, you have to go back about a decade to find a year when he was in worse shape. Now, worse shape for him is all relative because he's been so consistent throughout his career, but he's not as sharp as I think he needs to be to come in here and contend. It would surprise me not if he was 15th or 10th or something, but he just doesn't look sharp enough to come in here and walk away with that trophy.
Brandel, great job. You're on Rahm this weekend?
Yes, I like Rahm this weekend. I may change my mind before I go on the air tonight because I'm going to be studying all day some more. But right now, right here with you two, I'm saying Rahm.
There you go. Brandel Chamblee.
A man is whatever room he's standing in, Brandel, and yours is a sound closet somewhere, and you're picking Rahm right now.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Brandel, have a good weekend down there in Kiawah Island, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
You bet. Always. Look forward to talking to you all again. Cheers.
You got it. Brandel Chamblee, Golf Channel.